The Zyxan Dominion's flagship, Imperia, hung in the void like a predator, its obsidian hull absorbing the faint light of nearby stars. Its sleek, angular design exuded cold precision, a visual testament to the Dominion's mastery of logic and efficiency. For Commander Eron Vaylen, standing on the observation deck of the human envoy ship, the sight of the Imperia felt like staring into the unblinking eye of an apex predator. It wasn't just a ship, it was a declaration. "First time seeing one up close?" asked Lieutenant Celix, her voice carrying a wry edge. She leaned casually against the railing, her short auburn hair catching the faint glow of the holographic navigation display. Her demeanor was relaxed, but her sharp eyes betrayed a readiness for action. "First time seeing something so smug without a face," Eron replied, his tone dry. He adjusted the high collar of his uniform, the stiff fabric chafing against his neck. "They designed it to make us feel small." "They succeeded," Celix quipped, smirking. "But don't let it get under your skin. You've got bigger things to worry about than the decor." Eron exhaled, his breath fogging slightly in the cool air of the observation deck. "Right, like proving we're not the galaxy's resident buffoons." "Buffoons?" Celix raised an eyebrow. "I thought we were chaotic opportunists." "Let's see if we can't upgrade to creative thinkers by the end of this," Eron muttered. The subtle hum of the ship's engines vibrated beneath his boots, grounding him. A chime echoed through the deck, signaling the arrival of the delegation escort. Eron and Celix exchanged a glance before heading to the airlock. The door hissed open, revealing 3 Zyxan envoys. They were tall and unnervingly symmetrical, their deep blue skin shimmering faintly under the sterile light. Their expressions, or lack thereof, radiated superiority. "Commander Vaylen," one of them intoned, their voice smooth and devoid of inflection. "The Council awaits your presence aboard the Imperia. Please follow us." As they walked through the airlock, the temperature dropped noticeably, the cold biting at Eron's exposed hands. The Zyxans led them through corridors lined with glowing glyphs, their shapes shifting subtly as if alive. The air carried a faint metallic tang, mingled with a sterile scent that reminded Eron of antiseptic. They entered the council chamber, a cavernous space with tiered seating arranged in a precise, concentric pattern. At the center stood a podium flanked by holographic displays that projected streams of data in alien scripts. The room's acoustics amplified every sound, the echo of footsteps, the faint hum of the displays, creating an oppressive sense of scrutiny. Eron stepped forward, his boots clicking against the polished floor. He felt the weight of hundreds of Zyxan eyes on him, each gaze a scalpel dissecting his every move. At the far end of the chamber, strategist Vaylen stood, his posture as impeccable as his reputation. Vaylen's silver-trimmed robes and sharp features gave him the air of a monarch, though his eyes held no warmth, only calculation. "Human representatives," Vaylen began, his voice cutting through the chamber like a blade, "you stand before the Zyxan Dominion, the pinnacle of tactical brilliance and strategic thought. Your species has been invited to participate in a demonstration of intellect, a simulated war game, a chance perhaps to justify your place in the galactic order." Eron suppressed a smirk. "And here I thought this was just a friendly match." Vaylen's expression didn't shift, but there was a faint twitch in his brow, as if he'd caught a hint of the sarcasm, but chose to dismiss it. "We do not engage in frivolity, Commander. This exercise will test your species' strategic capability. Victory is unlikely, but the experience may prove educational." Celix snorted softly beside him, drawing a sharp glance from one of the envoys. Eron remained calm, his gaze steady. "We'll take that as a compliment," he said. "When do we begin?" "Preparations are already underway," Vaylen replied. "The rules are simple. Each side commands a fleet in a simulated environment, with objectives that will evolve dynamically. The victor is determined by control of the battlefield and successful adaptation to unforeseen variables." Eron tilted his head. "Unforeseen variables? I thought you Zyxans didn't believe in unpredictability." A ripple of murmurs passed through the council, the sound like dry leaves brushing against stone. Vaylen's eyes narrowed, his voice losing its polished edge. "We account for all probabilities, Commander. Chaos is merely the product of incomplete understanding." Eron allowed a faint smile to tug at his lips. "Let's see if your understanding is complete, then." The council chamber buzzed faintly as the holographic displays shifted, revealing a map of the simulated battlefield. It depicted a sprawling star system with asteroid fields, nebulae, and planetary outposts, terrain that could be as much a hindrance as a help, depending on how it was used. "We commence in 6 hours," Vaylen announced. "Prepare yourselves. You will find our strategies enlightening." As the delegation escorted Eron and Celix back to their ship, Celix broke the silence. "Well, that was a warm welcome. Think they're planning to crush us politely or just outright embarrass us?" "They're not planning to lose," Eron said, his tone firm. "That's the mistake they're already making," Celix frowned. "Care to elaborate?" "They think in straight lines," Eron explained. "Logic, probability, efficiency. It's all they know. If we play by their rules, we lose. But if we make them play by ours—" He didn't finish the sentence. Celix's smirk returned. "Then let's make a mess." Back on their ship, the human team gathered in the command room. The air was thick with anticipation, the soft glow of holographic displays casting sharp shadows on the walls. Lieutenant Arvin, a meticulous analyst with a penchant for overthinking, was the first to speak. "Commander, I've reviewed the Zyxans' historical strategies," Arvin began, his voice clipped. "Their precision is unmatched. If we deviate from standard tactics—" "We will deviate," Eron interrupted, his voice calm but resolute. "Standard tactics won't cut it here. The Zyxans expect us to follow their script. We're going to rewrite it." Arvin's frown deepened, but he said nothing. Celix leaned against the console, her grin widening. "So, what's the plan?" Eron stepped forward, his eyes scanning the holographic map. "We give them chaos, feints, misdirection, emotional plays, anything that forces them to adapt. They won't be able to. Their strength is their predictability. Their weakness is that they don't know how to fail." The room fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. Eron turned to his team, his voice steady but charged with determination. "This isn't just about winning a game. It's about showing them who we are, what we're capable of. We've got 6 hours. Let's make every second count." As his team dispersed to begin preparations, Eron lingered by the map, his jaw tight. The Zyxans thought they'd already won. They had no idea what was coming. The simulated battlefield unfurled before Eron Vaylen and his team like an intricate tapestry of opportunity and threat. The holographic projection filled the command room with a soft, blue glow, casting wavering light over the tense faces of his team. The simulated star system was vast, dotted with asteroid fields, nebulae, and planetary outposts. Every element was alive with potential, a silent promise of both danger and triumph. Eron stood at the center of the room, his sharp eyes scanning the field. The hum of the holographic interface filled the air, underscored by the faint whispers of his team's urgent discussions. The air tasted metallic, a reminder of the advanced technology coursing through their ship, yet it did little to calm the unease simmering beneath the surface. "Strategic deployments detected," Lieutenant Arvin reported, his voice tight with worry. He leaned over his console, his face illuminated by streams of data. "The Zyxans are moving with precision as expected. They've already secured the asteroid belt and begun fortifying the surrounding outposts. Their patterns suggest a phased approach, textbook domination strategy." "They're wasting no time," Celix muttered from her station where she monitored troop movements. "Classic Zyxans. They're treating this like a damn chess match." "Then we don't play chess," Eron said, his voice calm but firm. "We play something they've never seen before." Celix grinned. "You mean chaos?" "Exactly," Eron replied, stepping closer to the holographic display. "They expect us to react predictably, to counter their advances head-on. But we're not here to match their moves. We're here to make them question every single step." He gestured to a cluster of outposts near a dense nebula. "We'll deploy decoy forces here, enough to draw their attention. They'll send reinforcements, thinking we're aiming for control." Meanwhile, our main fleet will use the nebula as cover to flank their stronghold. Arvin frowned. Commander, if they detect the decoys too early, we'll lose the element of surprise. The risk is necessary, Eron interrupted, his tone unwavering. They thrive on certainty. We're going to strip that away from them. The room fell silent, the weight of his plan settling over the team. The faint scent of ozone from the holographic interface mixed with the tension in the air, thick and unyielding. Eron turned to his team, his voice softening. Trust the process. Trust each other. We've trained for this. The minutes ticked by like drops of water in a cavern, slow and heavy. The command room buzzed with activity as the team executed Eron's strategy. Decoy ships launched from their fleet, their sleek forms gliding into the simulated void. They gleamed under the artificial starlight, beacons of misdirection. Celix watched the screen intently, her fingers dancing across her console. Decoys are in position. Zyxans are taking the bait. Eron leaned closer to the display, his eyes narrowing. Sure enough, the Zyxans had begun redeploying their forces, their precise formations shifting toward the decoy outposts. The holographic icons moved with clinical efficiency, each step a testament to their calculated brilliance. Good, Eron murmured. Now we move the main fleet. The main fleet surged toward the nebula, their engines leaving faint trails of light that flickered like fireflies in the dark. The nebula itself was a swirling mass of color, its tendrils of gas shimmering like a living organism. It was both beautiful and foreboding, a reminder of the thin line between risk and reward. As the fleet entered the nebula, the room seemed to hold its breath. The ambient hum of the ship's systems grew louder in the silence, a constant reminder of the stakes. Arvin glanced at Eron, his brow furrowed. Visibility in the nebula is low, he said. If we lose contact, we won't, Eron said firmly. They've taken the bait. Stay focused. The Zyxan forces, true to form, overcommitted to the decoys. Their ships swarmed the outposts, their formations tightening like a noose. From the outside, it looked like flawless execution. Inside the nebula, Eron's fleet prepared for the strike. Commander, Celix said, her voice low but charged with urgency, the Zyxans are reinforcing their stronghold. Looks like they're trying to cover their bases. Eron smirked. Too little, too late. With a signal from Eron, the fleet burst out of the nebula, their emergence sudden and explosive. The simulated stronghold blinked on the holographic map, its defenses caught mid-realignment. The Zyxans had calculated every move, except for this one. Direct hit! Celix called, her voice rising with excitement. We're overwhelming their defenses! The room erupted with activity as the team capitalized on the chaos. The holographic display flickered with explosions, the stark contrast of destruction against the precision of the Zyxan formations. The air seemed electric, buzzing with the energy of an unfolding victory. But then, the Zyxans adapted. They're regrouping, Arvin said, his tone sharp. Countermaneuvers incoming. The Zyxan fleet shifted with unnerving speed, their ships closing ranks and redirecting their firepower. The holographic display lit up with their movements, each one deliberate and exact. Eron watched intently, his mind racing. Celix, he said, his voice calm despite the tension. Activate the secondary decoys. On it, she replied, her fingers flying over her console. Moments later, additional ships appeared on the display, their sudden presence throwing the Zyxans into disarray. They're hesitating, Arvin said, his tone laced with disbelief. They don't know where to focus. That's the idea, Eron said. Keep them guessing. The battle raged on, each moment a delicate balance between risk and reward. The Zyxans, for all their brilliance, began to falter under the weight of unpredictability. Their precise strategies crumbled against the relentless chaos. As the simulation approached its climax, Eron issued his final order. All units, converge on the stronghold, push them out. The team moved as one, their collective effort a symphony of coordination and resolve. The holographic display pulsed with the intensity of the final assault, the stronghold's defenses crumbling under the onslaught. When the battle ended, the command room was silent. The holographic display faded, leaving only the soft glow of the ship's systems. Eron turned to his team, his voice steady but filled with quiet pride. "We've shown them what we're capable of," he said. "But this is just the beginning." Celix grinned, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "They're not going to know what hit them." Arvin, though still cautious, nodded. "We've disrupted their patterns. Let's see if they can adapt." Eron's gaze returned to the dark expanse of the simulated battlefield. The Zyxans had underestimated humanity once. They wouldn't make that mistake again. But neither would Eron. The air in the command room felt heavier, thick with the acrid scent of overworked systems and the unspoken weight of uncertainty. The Zyxans had faltered under Eron's initial strike, but they hadn't been broken. On the holographic display, their ships were regrouping, recalibrating their strategies with mechanical precision. It was like watching a wound close itself, sealing over as if the damage had never been done. "Commander, they're shifting their lines again," Lieutenant Arvin reported, his voice taut. He adjusted the glowing interface on his console, frustration etched across his face. "They're consolidating their fleet around the planetary outposts. Defensive positions this time." "They're turtling," Celix muttered from her station, her hands gripping the edge of her console. Her usually playful demeanor had hardened into something colder, sharper. "Trying to wear us down until we make a mistake." Eron leaned against the central console, his sharp eyes fixed on the projection. The Zyxan ships moved like chess pieces, precise and methodical. Their strategy was clear: force humanity to overextend, then crush them under the weight of their own aggression. It was a smart move, one Eron might have made himself if he were playing by their rules, but he wasn't. "They're afraid," he said, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "They wouldn't retreat if they thought they had the upper hand." "Afraid?" Arvin repeated, his tone incredulous. "With all due respect, Commander, they don't operate on fear. Everything they do is calculated." Eron turned to him, his expression unreadable but his voice calm. "Even the most logical mind has limits. When those limits are breached, logic gives way to survival. That's when fear takes over." Celix shot Arvin a grin, her sharp features catching the glow of the holograms. "He's got a point. They didn't plan for us to hit them this hard. Now they're scrambling." "Scrambling or not," Arvin said, his voice low, "they're still the Zyxans. They'll adapt." Eron straightened, his gaze returning to the map. "So will we." The room buzzed with renewed focus as the team set to work. The hum of the ship's systems merged with the faint crackle of static from the comms, a constant undercurrent of tension. Eron moved from station to station, offering quiet words of encouragement and sharp commands. He could feel the weight of his decisions pressing down on him, but he refused to let it show. Celix's voice broke the silence. "Commander, I've got a read on their defensive patterns. They're setting up choke points around the outposts, tight formations, overlapping fields of fire." "They're daring us to attack," Eron said, his lips curling into a faint smile. "Let's give them what they want." Arvin's head snapped up. "You want to attack their strongest position? That's exactly what they're expecting." "Not exactly," Eron replied, his tone measured. "We'll make them think we're going all in, but it'll be another feint. While they're focused on defending the outposts, we'll hit their supply lines, cut them off at the source." Celix's grin widened. "Now we're talking." The plan took shape quickly, each piece falling into place like the gears of a finely tuned machine. Decoy fleets were deployed to the outposts, their movements deliberately aggressive, almost reckless. The Zyxans responded predictably, their ships converging on the threatened areas with surgical precision. Meanwhile, Eron's main force slipped through the cracks, targeting the supply depots hidden within asteroid fields. The holographic map lit up with the unfolding battle, icons flickering as ships engaged in furious combat. The scent of ozone from the interface mixed with the sharp tang of sweat and metal, the room charged with the energy of the moment. "Decoys are holding," Celix reported, her voice steady despite the chaos. "They've taken the bait." "Supply lines are exposed," Arvin added, his earlier doubt giving way to determination. "We're making progress." Eron nodded, his focus unyielding. Keep the pressure on. Make them feel like they're in control, right up until they're not. The plan worked. The Zyxan fleet, stretched thin and overcommitted, began to falter. Their precise formations unraveled under the strain, leaving gaps that Eron's team exploited ruthlessly. The holographic display showed the tide turning, humanity's forces gaining ground inch by hard-fought inch. But then, the unexpected happened. "Commander," Celix said, her voice sharp with alarm, "we've got a problem." Eron moved to her station, his jaw tightening as he saw the data streaming across her screen. A new fleet had entered the simulation, Zyxan reinforcements, larger and more heavily armed than anything they'd faced so far. "They were holding back," Arvin said, his voice grim. "Waiting for us to commit before deploying their reserves." Eron's mind raced. The Zyxans had outmaneuvered them, exploiting their own unpredictability against them. It was a bold move, one that could shift the balance of the game entirely. "We're not done yet," he said, his voice steel. "Celix, pull the decoys back. Arvin, I need a status report on our reserves." "Reserves are at 50%, Arvin replied, his tone tight. "We've been taking hits, Commander." Eron exhaled, his breath fogging faintly in the cool air. The weight of the moment pressed down on him, but he refused to let it crush him. He turned to his team, his voice steady but charged with intensity. "This is where we show them who we are," he said. "They think they've got us cornered, but they're wrong. We've been playing their game so far. Now it's time to change the rules." The final phase of the plan took shape in Eron's mind, a bold and dangerous gambit that could either secure victory or end in disaster. He outlined it quickly, his words precise and confident, his team listening intently. Celix's grin returned, sharp and feral. "That's insane. I love it." Arvin hesitated, his doubt flickering across his face. But then he nodded, his voice firm. "If anyone can pull this off, it's us." As the team moved to execute the plan, Eron allowed himself a moment to reflect. The Zyxans had underestimated humanity's capacity for chaos, for creativity, for resilience. Now, they were about to learn what it truly meant to face the unpredictable. The simulation continued, the battlefield alive with the chaos of war. Eron stood at the center of it all, his gaze fixed on the holographic display, his mind racing with possibilities. The next move would decide everything. The command room buzzed with tension as Commander Eron Vaylen stood before the glowing tactical display, his eyes scanning the holographic battlefield with the precision of a predator stalking prey. The Zyxan reinforcements loomed large on the map, their dense formations a study in overwhelming force and ruthless efficiency. The air felt electric, tinged with the faint scent of ozone from the overworked systems, and every sound, the faint hum of the ship, the clipped voices of his team, seemed amplified in the taut atmosphere. "This is where they expect us to crack," Eron said, his voice calm despite the storm swirling around them. "But they've forgotten one critical truth. Desperation breeds creativity." Lieutenant Celix leaned over her console, her sharp eyes reflecting the holographic light. "What's the play, Commander?" "Because those reinforcements are about to chew through our lines." Eron turned to face his team, his expression a mask of calm intensity. "They think they've pinned us down. They've committed their reserves to the center, betting everything on a direct confrontation. We're going to make them regret it." He pointed to a cluster of asteroid fields on the holographic map. "Celix, I want a stealth unit deployed here. Use the asteroids for cover and wait for my signal. Your job is to harass their supply ships. Nothing heavy, just enough to make them think we're trying to cut their lifeline." Celix's grin was sharp. "Hit and run? My favorite kind of party." "Arvin," Eron continued, turning to his cautious analyst, "I need you to coordinate with the decoy fleets. Have them scatter and regroup near the nebula. Make it look like we're retreating." Arvin frowned. "That'll leave our center exposed. If the Zyxans push—" "They will push," Eron interrupted. "That's what we want. When they move their fleet to exploit the gap, they'll overextend. That's when we strike." Arvin nodded reluctantly, his fingers flying over his console as he began relaying orders. The hum of activity in the command room grew louder, punctuated by the sharp beeps of incoming data and the quiet murmurs of the crew. The faint metallic tang of the recycled air seemed to thicken as the weight of the plan settled over them. "And the main fleet?" Celix asked, her voice steady but edged with curiosity. Eron's gaze returned to the map. "We'll divide it. Half will engage their flanking forces head-on, a feint to draw their attention. The other half will slip through the nebula and come at them from behind." Celix's eyes widened. "A pincer maneuver? Bold." "Bold enough to work," Eron said, his tone resolute. "The Zyxans thrive on precision and predictability. We're going to drown them in chaos." The minutes ticked by with agonizing slowness as the pieces of the plan fell into place. The holographic display flickered with the movements of ships, each icon representing lives, risks, and choices. The air in the room grew heavier, the silence broken only by the occasional barked orders and the faint hum of the ship's systems. Finally, the signal came. "Commander," Arvin said, his voice tense, "the Zyxans have taken the bait. They're shifting their fleet to exploit the gap." Eron nodded, his jaw tightening. "Good. Begin Phase 2. The decoy fleet scattered, their movements erratic and desperate, mimicking a panicked retreat. The Zyxan forces surged forward, their sleek ships slicing through the simulated void like predators scenting blood. The holographic display lit up with their advance, their formations tightening as they moved to crush the weakened center. "Celix," Eron said, his voice steady, "begin the harassment runs. Keep them distracted." "On it," Celix replied, her hands moving with practiced precision. On the map, her stealth unit darted through the asteroid field, their small ships striking the Zyxan supply lines with pinpoint accuracy before vanishing into the shadows. The Zyxan response was immediate, their forces splitting off to chase the elusive attackers. "They're committing resources to the asteroids," Arvin reported, his voice tinged with disbelief. "They're spreading themselves thin." "Exactly what we need," Eron said. "Arvin, signal the main fleet. It's time." The main fleet split into two groups, their movements swift and deliberate. The first half engaged the Zyxan flanking forces head-on, their ships trading volleys of simulated fire in a brutal clash. The second half vanished into the nebula, their engines leaving faint trails of light that shimmered like ghosts. Eron watched the map intently, his heart pounding in his chest. The Zyxans, caught between their relentless pursuit of the decoys and the sudden onslaught of the main fleet, began to falter. Their precise formations unraveled, their forces stretched too thin to maintain cohesion. "Commander," Celix said, her voice sharp with excitement, "they're breaking." Their centers wide open. Eron's hand hovered over the control console, his fingers poised above the command interface. The moment stretched, the weight of it pressing down on him like a physical force. Then, with a swift motion, he issued the final order. "All units, converge on their command ship," he said, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "Take them out." The room erupted with activity as the fleet moved to execute the order. On the map, the Zyxan command ship blinked like a beacon, its defenses crumbling under the combined assault. The holographic display lit up with bursts of simulated explosions, each one a testament to the culmination of Eron's plan. The Zyxan forces, for all their brilliance, couldn't adapt fast enough. Their hyperlogical strategies, so effective in predictable scenarios, collapsed under the weight of humanity's chaos and ingenuity. The battle ended in a blaze of light, the map clearing as the simulation declared humanity victorious. For a moment, the command room was silent. The only sound was the faint hum of the ship's systems, a quiet backdrop to the stunned expressions of the crew. "Commander," Arvin said finally, his voice thick with disbelief, "we did it. We beat them." Eron exhaled, his shoulders sagging slightly as the tension drained from his body. He turned to his team, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "No, Arvin, we outthought them." Celix let out a sharp laugh, her grin wide and triumphant. "Damn right we did." The victory was undeniable, but Eron's mind was already racing ahead. The Zyxans wouldn't take this loss lightly. The game had shifted, and the stakes had never been higher. As the holographic map faded, leaving only the faint glow of the ship's systems, Eron felt a surge of determination. This was just the beginning. The aftermath of victory lingered in the command room, the air buzzing with the faint echoes of cheers and the fading tension of battle. The holographic display had gone dark, leaving only the soft, ambient hum of the ship's systems. For a moment, the team stood in silence, the weight of what they'd accomplished settling over them like a tangible force. Eron Vaylen stood at the center, his hands clasped behind his back, his face etched with a mix of exhaustion and pride. The simulated battlefield was gone, but its implications were alive in his mind. The Zyxans had been defeated, not by brute force or superior technology, but by the very thing they had dismissed as weakness: humanity's capacity for chaos, creativity, and sheer audacity. "Commander," Arvin said, breaking the quiet. His voice carried the gravity of the moment, tempered by disbelief. "The final report just came through. The Zyxans have confirmed our victory. Their command ship is gone," Eron finished, his voice quiet but resolute. "And with it, their certainty." Celix leaned against her console, her grin as sharp as the edge of a blade. You should have seen the look on their faces. They didn't just lose, they lost it. They couldn't handle being outplayed. "Chaos does that," Eron replied, his tone measured. "It strips away the illusion of control." The comms crackled to life, interrupting the moment. A deep, resonant voice filled the room, strategist Vaylen. Even through the distortion, his words carried a quiet menace. "Commander Vaylen," Vaylen said, his tone devoid of its usual confidence. "Congratulations. Your methods have proven effective, if unconventional. But do not mistake this for superiority." Eron stepped closer to the console, his expression unreadable. "Is that pride I hear, strategist? Or something else?" Vaylen hesitated, a momentary crack in his composure. "The Dominion does not rely on emotions, Commander. But your victory raises questions. Questions we intend to answer." Eron's lips curled into a faint smile. "Questions, strategist, are the beginning of understanding. And understanding is something you've avoided for too long." The line went dead, leaving the room steeped in silence once more. Celix let out a low whistle. "Well, that's not ominous or anything." "They'll study us," Arvin said, his tone cautious. "Try to dissect what happened. Adapt, let them," Eron said. His voice carried a quiet determination that silenced any further doubts. "They can learn from us, but they'll never be us." As the crew began to disperse, the weight of the moment settled over Eron once again. He stepped away from the central console, his footsteps echoing faintly in the quiet room. Celix followed, her sharp gaze lingering on him. "You don't look like a man who just won," she said, her voice softer than usual. "What's eating at you?" Eron stopped by the observation window, the vastness of space stretching out before him. The faint glow of distant stars painted the room in a muted light, their silence a stark contrast to the chaos that had unfolded. He crossed his arms, his voice low but steady. "This wasn't just about a game, Celix," he said. "This was about proving something, about showing them that we're more than what they think we are." "And we did," Celix replied, her tone resolute. "We outsmarted them, outmaneuvered them. Hell, we made them question their entire way of thinking." Eron nodded, his gaze distant. "But it's not over. This was just the beginning." Celix tilted her head, her expression thoughtful. "You think they'll come back for more?" "I know they will," Eron said. "The Zyxans don't lose lightly. They'll adapt, change, evolve, and so will we." The weight of his words hung in the air, a reminder of the unspoken truth. This victory was a spark, but the fire it ignited would burn long after. Humanity's place in the galaxy had shifted, and with it came new challenges, new dangers, and new opportunities. "Commander!" Arvin's voice called from across the room, his tone urgent. "Incoming transmission! It's the Galactic Council!" Eron turned, his expression sharpening. "Patch it through." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the towering forms of the Galactic Council's representatives. Their features were diverse, an amalgamation of species from across the stars, but their expressions shared a common thread, awe tempered by wariness. "Commander Vaylen," one of the counselors began, their voice resonant and formal. "The Council has reviewed the results of the simulation. Your performance was remarkable." "Thank you," Eron said, his tone measured. "But I assume this call isn't just to congratulate us." "You assume correctly," another counselor said, their eyes narrowing. "Your tactics, while effective, raise concerns. Chaos, unpredictability, these are dangerous elements." "They're also necessary," Eron replied, his voice steady. "The galaxy thrives on order, on rules and systems. But life isn't a straight line. It's messy, unpredictable. Humanity didn't win because we broke the rules. We won because we understood them differently." The counselors exchanged glances, their silence speaking volumes. Finally, the first counselor nodded. "Your point is noted. Humanity's position in the galactic arena has changed. You have proven yourselves formidable." Eron inclined his head. "We're not here to dominate. We're here to contribute, to show that there's more than one way to think, to live, to succeed." The transmission ended, leaving the room bathed in the soft glow of the holographic display. Celix let out a low whistle, her grin returning. "Formidable, huh? Not bad for a bunch of chaotic opportunists." Eron chuckled softly, his tension easing slightly. "Not bad at all." As the crew began to celebrate in earnest, Eron allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. The Zyxans had underestimated humanity, dismissed them as primitive and erratic. But in doing so, they had revealed their own blind spots, their inability to see beyond the boundaries of logic and predictability. Humanity, with all its flaws and contradictions, had shown them something new: the strength of adaptability, the power of creativity, and the unyielding force of resilience. It was a lesson that would resonate far beyond the simulated battlefield, shaping the future of the galaxy itself. As Eron stood by the observation window, watching the stars shimmer in the vastness of space, he felt a quiet pride. Humanity had proven itself not through brute force or technological superiority, but through the very qualities that made them unique. This wasn't just a victory. It was a beginning.